Oscar is the only superstar who still plays in China. We cannot escape the fact that Oscar in his prime at Chelsea was one of the greatest talents in Europe at that moment. The footballer who won the Under-20s World Cup with Brazil in 2011 by scoring a hat-trick against Portugal in the final allowed his talents to literally rot forever in China. But why did he do that? Why did he left Europe in his prime to go and play in China? To find out reasons for that, we have to dig deeper, so let's get straight into this. Born on 9 September of 1991 in Brazil, Oscar joined Sao Paulo's youth academy when he was just 13 years old. He made his first professional appearance in August 2008 in the Copa Sudamericana, and after that Oscar played only 11 matches for Sao Paulo. Due to problems in the contract he had with Sao Paulo, Oscar moved to Internacional in 2010, where he experienced expansion and managed to score 15 goals in 57 appearances. That was enough for Chelsea to offer the Brazilian a 5-year contract, and for around £20 million, Oscar moved to London. His first appearance came against Wigan after he came on from the bench instead of then also debutant Eden Hazard. In September, in the first match of the group stage of the Champions League, Juventus came to Stamford Bridge and Oscar scored 2 goals and won the award for the player of the match in his first match in the Champions League. He then said in the interview that it was the dream of every Brazilian and that he was very proud to have achieved it, and the media in England portrayed Oscar as a new superstar. How good Oscar was at that moment is also shown by the fact that Chelsea sold Kevin De Bruyne in order to make more room for Oscar in the team, which, if you look at it now, is perhaps the most ridiculous thing Chelsea have ever done. Everything was great for Oscar. He played fantastically. He was one of Chelsea's main players with over 200 appearances, scoring 38 goals. Although he scored only 38 goals, his goals were twice awarded for the goal of the month in the Premier League, and in his 5 years at Chelsea he also won 2 times Premier League, Europa League and League Cup. It was a real pleasure to watch him because he was small, skillful and scored great goals. Along with Neymar, he was seen as the leader of Brazil's new generation. But after Mourinho left Chelsea, Oscar just wasn't the same. During the time when Antonio Conte was leading Chelsea, Oscar did not get too many opportunities, and everything seemed that Oscar would move to Atletico Madrid, who would bring Oscar back to his best. But a huge offer arrived from China, and Oscar didn't want to refuse the opportunity to set up his family for life, so Oscar, at only 25 years old and with a lot of unrealized potential, is going to China because, as he says, it's an offer he couldn't refuse. I won't even try to explain how easy it was for him to get used to the game in China, because he was simply much better than the others on the field. In his first year in China, he earned 24 million euros, but the key moment for Oscar happened in 2019 when he signed a new contract shortly before the Chinese government made a decision to set a salary cap for players of 2.7 million euros, and that the rest of the money they will put in their national team instead. That decision was made for all players except for Oscar, who was offered to earn 150 million if he stays in China until 2024. Oscar accepted it with joy, and to this day it's the last big contract in China. A deal so big that he could buy his own neighborhood in Brazil at least 10 times over. With his games, Oscar helped Shanghai to win the league and the League Cup, and today he is the only high-profile player who remained in China after most of the players returned to Europe during the pandemic. But why is Oscar still in China? Before I give you the answer to this question, I will quickly ask you to like and subscribe to support the channel and allow me to make videos as often as possible. Although David Luiz and Willian begged him to return to Europe and play with them for Arsenal, it was simply not possible for Oscar because of huge amount of money that China offered him to stay there. He even said that he would like to return to Europe, but the situation is too difficult for him. He also stated that he will be 29 years old when his contract ends, and that he will still be able to play football at the top level. How much he wanted to return to Europe is also shown by the fact that he wanted to join Barcelona in 2022 with a huge salary reduction, but Shanghai didn't even want to hear about it. And the even bigger disappointment followed in August, when Flamengo tried to bring him back to Brazil. Oscar was really happy and already published a picture in a black and red shirt, but he wasn't allowed to go back to Brazil either. Even if he wanted to terminate his contract, it would cost him tens of millions, which was out of the question for Oscar, the prisoner of money. It's easy to say that after a few years spent in China, Saudi Arabia or somewhere else, you will return to Europe and play at the top level again, but that is much easier said than done. Oscar must have had that in his mind. He thought he had cheated the system. He thought he would leave for a few years just to earn enough to provide for his family, but what he didn't know was that the money would literally sentence him to prison. And now the question arises, and I really want you to answer me in the comments because I'm really interested in your opinion. When you look back at everything, the talent and potential that adorned him in his best years, where he was already earning big money, was it even worth to throw that everything away just to become one of the biggest money slaves?